Welcome back. This is Rito here with another Terraria video. Today I want to answer a tricky question, which is how strong is the Zenith Sword in the Calamity Mod? So currently we've got this awesome Zenith Sword that was added into the 1.4 update, and most people have already learned about this sword. It's a combination of most of the swords in the game, and it's really powerful. It's actually so powerful, in fact, that it makes me question how strong would this be if you can acquire it post-Moonlord in the Calamity Mod. We can't directly test the Zenith Sword in Calamity because Tmod Loader hasn't updated yet, so we can't do 1.4 with Calamity, but what I can do is determine the damage per second of a legendary Zenith, and I can do it without wearing any armor. I'll take this wing set off as well. Then we can go to a modded Calamity world and find weapons that do a similar DPS and have a similar attack pattern to the Zenith Sword. Right up here at the top right corner, you can see the damage per second. So let's go ahead and start testing it. You can see we're doing over 7,000 damage, even over 8,000 damage, but more consistently around 7. And if you look, we've got no items equipped other than vanities, and we've got 0 defense, no buffs other than Star in a Bottle, which doesn't really do anything for us. And we're able to get, 6 to 7, even up to 8,000 damage with the Zenith Sword. And with the Meowmere, if we're only hitting one dummy, we're able to do about 1,000 damage. So you can see that the Zenith Sword is about 7 or 8 times stronger than the Meowmere. So next, let's head on over to a Tmod Loader Calamity World and test out some different weapons and see which ones compare to the Zenith. Once when we find a sword that is a similar power to the Zenith Sword, we can actually use it in the Calamity Mod, and it can kind of approximate how strong the Zenith would be. So here we are in the Calamity Mod. You can see we've got Calamity weapons and everything. We do have the Meowmere, so let's go ahead and confirm that we're doing a similar damage. We're doing about 1,100 to 1,200. So we don't have any gear equipped except for this Vanity Wing, which doesn't have any damage bonus to it. Now we can test out a few different weapons. So I've tested probably like 20 different Calamity weapons, and I found a few that work very similar. There's actually 4 that are pretty similar to the Zenith in power. But I wanted to show in comparison first weapons you can get right after defeating the Moonlord. They're not anywhere close to the Zenith, and you could obtain the Zenith at the same time that you would be obtaining these weapons like the Arc of the Elements. You can see on a super dummy, it's got more homing effects and stuff, and it's doing a lot better. It's like 1,000, 700, 1,800. But it is not anywhere close to 7 to 8,000 like the Zenith. And then we have the Seeking Scorcher, and this is something you can get from Providence. And so even a post-Providence weapon is only doing like 2,000 damage. Now let's try the Unreal Valediction. This is a rogue weapon you get right before the Devourer of Gods, and it shreds the Devourer of Gods. And you can see it's only doing 4,300 damage. Let's try the Ghoulish Gouger. You can see this is doing only around 3,000. If the Zenith Sword is better than post-Polterghast weapons, then we have to go post-Devourer of Gods. Let's go ahead and try the Enforcer. I had to roll the Enforcer to Dull in order for it to be a similar damage to the Zenith, because if it was rolled to Legendary, it's actually quite a bit more powerful. But you can see right here we're doing 6,000, 6,700. So this is actually a little bit less powerful than Zenith, and I don't think this is piercing. The next is the Galaxia, and this one is a little bit closer to the Zenith. I've got it rolled to Dull to drop the damage down a little bit, and it's, hitting about 7,500, so this is very similar. And it's got more of a piercing element to it. And we've got the Galaxy Smasher melee variant, and it's doing, mid 7,000s up to 8,000 occasionally, so this is pretty similar too. The only thing is it doesn't have nearly the range as the Zenith. Ultimately, what I've been able to determine is that the Legendary Zenith is similar to the normal Galaxy Smasher, the Dull Galaxia, and the Dull Enforcer. Now that we've got 3 weapons that do the approximate damage of the Zenith in Calamity, now we can fully buff ourselves as a melee class and fight some bosses. So I've got mainly the gear that would be pre-Providence. I think this is the only thing that's not pre-Providence, but I don't have another Aegis of Valor. So let's just use that for now. That will be close enough. Let's start with the Profaned Guardians and see how quickly the Zenith would be melting these guys. You can see we're already doing insanely good work on them. This would be right after you defeat the Moon Lord, you would have a weapon that is capable of killing these guys this quickly. Next, let's head down to the Underworld so we can fight Providence, and then maybe some Sentinels as well. Let's get ready to start this fight up, and I should mention this is a Revengeance mode world. And let's see how it goes against Providence. Oh my goodness. This is destroying Providence. Yeah, this is impressive. Quite a bit more powerful than I was expecting. But I mean, it's 8 times more powerful than weapons you can obtain at a similar stage. And let's try maybe the Enforcer and see how this one does. And let's try the Galaxia again. I mean, it's not completely making this fight easy. Like, you still have to dodge and do all this sort of stuff, and it's not immediately killing the boss. But it's still quite a bit faster than I would expect for a weapon you can get right after defeating the Moon Lord. Now let's go ahead and switch our gear. So now we've got our Tarragon armor on, so we are ready to go try a weapon similar to the Zenith against the Sentinels. So let's start this up. And let's see how good we can do against Signus with this. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. We're doing, you know, like 20,000 damage. And we've almost got Signus. Boom. Yep, not too bad. So the next boss I want to try this on is the Polterghast, so let's head down into the dungeon and see how the Zenith would work on the Polterghast. With all of the buffs that you can get in Calamity, you can really increase the damage that the Zenith is capable of doing, because you've got like Yarum Stimulants, you've got melee proficiency, you've got all sorts of different things that will buff your damage, plus a few different potions as well. So yeah, you can have a lot of extra bonuses. And let's try the Galaxia again. I don't think the Enforcer is a good way to measure the DPS of what the Zenith could be in Calamity, because the Enforcer doesn't do any piercing, and so it kind of doesn't get the same amount of damage. And I think we've almost got the Polterghast. There we go. We defeated the Polterghast. I don't think there's a good way to defeat the Polterghast that easily with weapons you could get right after the Moon Lord. So once when you defeat the Polterghast, you're able to equip Blood Flare armor. So let's go ahead and do that. Now that we have Blood Flare armor and our accessories are pretty good for this fight, let's go ahead and try a weapon similar to the Zenith on the Devourer of Gods and see how well we could do. Okay, so once when you get close enough, you need to have him on screen and you'd be able to do some pretty good damage. I think the Zenith would kind of fall apart by the time you get to the Devourer of Gods, because I just don't think you're getting enough damage. Plus, you would need to really be hitting far on the screen. But the piercing aspect of it and the precision of it could be pretty good. It probably wouldn't be my first choice for using it against the Devourer of Gods, but it'd be interesting to see. So let's go ahead and use some adrenaline and get past these guys. We're doing like 40,000 damage just normally here. Let's give it some adrenaline. Ooh. We're already got him down to 80%. Pretty awesome. This one can land hits off screen, which the Zenith can't. So I'd say this is going to be a little bit better, but it's still pretty close. And if you can get the boss on screen and use like adrenaline at the same time, you'd be able to probably beat this boss with Zenith. Just dodge a few more lasers. And he's getting aggressive. Get some distance here. Uh-oh. Let's put on our adrenaline. Man, this is so much fun playing Calamity again. Ooh, that would have been a death in death mode for sure. Okay, here we go. We got him now. So overall, beating the Devourer of Gods with the Dole Galaxia, which is a similar damage to the Zenith, is pretty doable. But like I said earlier, the Zenith is only going to hit to the edge of your screen, so you're going to have to be pretty close to the Devourer of Gods and probably use Adrenaline and Rage to make that work in a boss fight. I have a feeling that it will get nerfed once when it gets added to Calamity, because otherwise I think it will break the progression for a melee class. When you compare it to the Arc of the Elements and stuff like that you would get at a similar phase, it's just leaps and bounds ahead of those. I could also see the Calamity developers requiring Ruinous Souls or Divine Geodes, or maybe even a weapon like the Soul Edge to be part of the recipe for the Zenith. Or they could reduce the damage of the Zenith down to like 2,000 to 3,000 when you don't have any gear. So that concludes our video showing what the Zenith could approximately do in Calamity. I'm interested to see how they change the weapon and see what happens as they develop Calamity to fit into 1.4. Overall, I did my best to find weapons that approximated the Zenith as best I could. I hope you all have enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. I also post lots of other Terraria 1.4 content. I'm currently doing all sorts of showcase videos as well as a Terraria Master Mode melee playthrough, so be sure to check those out if you're interested. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.